The more you learn, the more I understand how much you do not know. Quality of your life is the direct reflection of the quality of your communication.
Okay, why I need to know the personality types of people?
Knowledge, or information is power, but that's not true.
Hi everyone, Levon is here and thank you for joining back to our next episode. But before I will introduce my guest today, I will ask you to subscribe and like. It's not because of my ego to like, because that will help people who really needs to watch this very interesting episode. Your likes and subscribes will help that this video will reach to them. So today I am going to interview very interesting person. Mel, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm
So
glad to be here.
today is going to be super interesting conversation. I know it's not because of you business owner, but you have so many things to share. And the first time we had this conversation, I find out that there is something different. It's not just a business owner, but also there is some. We will talk about more about those details. I don't want to open all secrets.
Thank
But
you.
with all guests, I want to start from the process that when did you move to Canada? I don't want to spend so much time about the process, that which kind of difficulties you have, but we will more focus on how to win all those kind of challenges.
Great question. So I came to Canada in 2005. It's almost 20 years.
Wow.
I remember when I just came here and I was talking to people and I would ask how long you've been here. Some will say 3 years, 5 years. I'm like, wow, that's like a long time. And then it got to the point where people were asking me how long you've been here. And I'm like, it's 20 years. And I remember that conversations. It's like, interesting how fast time goes by.
I think this is one of the questions that will never be end. Like always, that question is happening. Everyone is exactly remembering like the birthday, how old are they, and how long they are in Canada, right? Those
It's
kind of things.
big because it's, like I guess everybody's life. It's like a big moment when like you're changing everything. You're changing your country. Everything is changing.
Yeah.
It depends how you come here, whether you knew the language or you gotta learn, which I had to learn literally from scratch.
Oh, it is.
So
Okay, so that time I don't want to focus on the first period of time that you met. So after how many years you start to build your own business?
start build business. It's a great question. So I obviously, like everybody else, I started working with people who are in business and learning at
Skills.
least the starter, the basics, and everything. And I guess about maybe it took me a year and a half. And like once I learned the ins and out, so I started buying my own equipment to work getting in the business. And but that time I was just subcontracting for basically companies who
I
already
see.
established, so they were doing all the heavy lifting, the sales and appointments, everything. So my part was basically to provide the
Yeah.
installation part. And after some time, I don't know, maybe 8 years later, so I got to the point where I could directly sell, do basically from A to Z the projects.
So during the business, like couple of words about the business, and then we will switch about your personal type of your business. When you are saying like, as I understand, the first part is more fish delivery rather than fishing, is more like cooking rather than hunting. Then you start to do hunting as well, because that's important. Which part of the business you like more, hunting or the cooking?
That's a good question. So, what's the part I like? So I say from beginning that I like most the interaction part. So dealing with the clients. And like I don't know like about much other businesses, but what's interesting about Windows and Doors business is that you get to meet almost every day, in most cases, new people. And they can be from, all walks of life. Some will be lawyers, some will be doctors, some will be just regular, you know,
Yeah.
people with all kinds of, jobs. So I like interacting with people, whether it's like during the, project or the process of like, sales and introduction and everything. So I kind of like that part more. Although technically all parts are they're interesting in their own way because first you do, the sales part and then you got to deliver. So selling is for some people is easy because it's just like a lot of kind of promises and talking. The question comes after, can you deliver what you promise so well, or you can even actually in some cases over deliver, which will surpass the expectation of the
I see.
people who trust
That's it.
business.
I can see that your personality type, and I believe that this is the more you like working with people. And I want to like slightly switch to a conversation that we had before cameras was on. So about your self development and the subjects that you were interested in. I was like even surprised I asked you like why you decided to learn all those kind of things. And I believe this is a part of the things that you like to work with people and to understand people more.
Yeah.
So I would like to you share more about what you start to learn, why you become more interested in I don't know, it's how it's called. It's human minds, like the thinking, all these kind of subjects that is related to human.
Great question. Okay. So, about, I would say maybe 12 years ago, I started become very interested in human psychology, behavior, neuroscience, spirituality, everything in between. And like the word obsession in some cases have negative connotation. When people hear obsession, they think that may be a bad thing, but that can be also a great thing. So I like literally became obsessed once I start learning about human behavior and psychology, because we all have reasons what we do, why we say, how we say. And when you start learning, understanding that, and I'm not claiming that I understand fully, I'm just a good student. I'm learning after 12 years. The more you learn, the more I understand how much you do not know.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. So let's say if you like, I'll give you first example. If you read the book, if it's really good book, you might read 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, whatever. But at one point, you get to the point where you know it.
Right.
It can be a movie you watch, a game you play, the past stages. But eventually, get to the point where you're like, okay, that's it. Like I
Yeah.
gotta move on. The beauty of the self-education industry, development, self-improvement, there's so many names to it that there is no end. There's like it's that's the beauty of it because it's more interesting, so you cannot see the end of it. So the more you learn, actually the more you realize how much you don't know, right? Because they're saying like smart people always learning,
Right.
dumb people know everything, right?
Right.
So if you ask somebody like, I know that,
I know.
how about this, I know that too, so they know everything, but they don't know anything. So that's the funny part of it. So and again, so when you like come to the any situation interaction with like more curiosity, trying to connect with the people in rather than the surface level but going deeper, right? So when you come with curiosity and understanding rather judgment, because we live in society where people watching 1 minute of like a clip, they already have an opinion about the
Right.
person, right?
Right.
Without knowing anything. But the truth is we sometimes live like or hear stories, people live 20, 30 years together, or you've been friends with somebody 20, and then they might say or do something, and you're like, I feel like I don't know this person. I would not expect that he or she will do that, right? So the point is, if you don't know somebody after 20, 30 years, how can you know somebody by watching 1 minute
Right.
clip? And we are so quick to judge people, right? So if you put that aside and rather judging, try to understand that, then you will get a lot more out of it.
Right. And like it's very interesting. So yeah, I know your business style. It's again working with people. So is it something related that you start to work with people and you were like, okay, I want to understand like people, humans, like why and like those behaviors, or is this is just because it's interesting and you start to learn and more know more about it?
Again, that's a great question, and I would love to answer that. It will maybe have two parts. So, number one, like there's a good saying, quote. I will probably refer a lot
Hmm.
to quotes because the beauty of the quotes, it might be one or two sentences, but it will have a lot of thing to
Yeah.
unpack. That's why I love quotes. It's very, interesting for me. And the quote says, the quality of your life is the direct reflection of the quality of your communication.
Right.
So, why communication is important, and that's part of self
Hmm.
education, self development. Because regardless of what business you're in, if you master and learn and become good or great at communication, whether it's your kids, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your coworkers, boss, you will just experience life in much will be more pleasurable for you because you get good at it,
Right.
right? On the other hand, so for example, there was a study many years ago. They studied people who were in jail, and the more severe was their sentence, the smaller was their vocabulary.
Hmm.
So the point is, like people, when they don't have a way of expressing and explaining people what they're trying to communicate, they become frustrated, they become angry because they cannot communicate that. But on the other hand, I think it was Einstein said, if you cannot explain something to 10 years old,
Yeah.
then you don't understand it.
Oh,
So when you understand something so good, so well, like let's say you're asking me a question and I'm trying to understand how can I translate this information to whether it's your business or your like level of understanding so you can get most out of it, right? Because for example, if you talk to lawyers or doctors, they have special terminology that they use, language that in some cases people need to Google those words to understand what that even means. You might read the letter, from lawyer or from doctor. So that is the beauty of that's why I want to learn, because if I learn, I understand, because they're different people, they have different needs and they have different way of communicating.
Okay, so maybe again, this is interesting. So when I started to do sales in real estate,
Right.
so one of my coaches he suggested me to read the book Personality Type.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, why I need to know the personality types of people, and like because that will help you to more understand your type. Let's say if it's analytical, you will come up with more numbers.
Correct.
If it's amiable, you will come up with more emotions, right? It will help you to communicate with them, or in other way to say to present them whatever their needs
Absolutely.
are, right? So, but I learned that and I read that book again, as you are saying, a couple of times because it's not a reading book; it's more learning book, those kind
Studying the
studying
book.
book, those
Yeah.
kind of things,
Right.
right? Because some of us like, oh, go read this book. They read one time or like an audio book, but this is not a book to read. You have to study to understand all these kind of things. But I did that for it for my business,
Mm-hmm.
and I stopped there. I didn't continue to more I know. But I know you are continuing learning and knowing more. And it's not just you are using that for your business, but is there any other plans do you have about it?
Okay, great question. So whatever you just said, it's very relevant. So you understand that. The point is when you learn, you understand. Again, it is not like only good for a business, because in every business, regardless what you're doing, first we have to understand that we're dealing with people. And when you understand people, then regardless of which business you're going, you understand the psychology. Like you say, different types of people, right? Yeah, there are different types of people. So, and also what's interesting, like although we like speak language, we might use the same words, but different people have different meaning attached to that. So, for example, I have a dog. My dog is German Shepherd. You have like Boston
Right.
Terrier, somebody may have a Chihuahua, somebody else might have a Bull Mastiff. So if somebody's asking, like, like, oh, what you're doing, you're like, I was walking my dog, or I was training my dog. So, but in each situation, people have very different,
Process.
experience, and also people who see you walking with your dog, they have very already different perception of you. That also goes through how you dress. That also goes, like, we like to kind of put people in brackets. Oh, this person is like this person like
Yeah.
that. So that's very shallow, very, like, in most cases that's actually not accurate. And one very interesting thing that I learned, they're saying when you deal with every person, so we typically have three lives. So one is called public life, and the second one is called private life, and the third one is called secret life. So when you deal with somebody, so in most cases that's a public life. That's what we want, basically project to public to see, like who we are, like, and so forth. So, and then second goes a private life, and then very small percentage or very small group people know you to that level. They know. And then there's a secret life. Some people have a big secret life, some people have small secret life. It depends, what it is. And this typically they, you know, don't like to share with anybody else because they are afraid what they've said, they're done, people are going to judge or criticize. Rarely that happens, that you find somebody who you can trust.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you feel very connected to the person, who you share the
Totally sure.
secret. And once you share the secrets, then you can ask them anything else, they'll give you a,
Wow.
heartbeat.
So it's
Eh?
interesting. When I'm hearing like it's the point is to understand how to kind of bring down the wall between you and the other people
Yeah,
that they will start to communicate with you and they will start to be more open.
yeah.
How that same thing is helping to understand first myself. Is it important in this path is not only understand others but to understand myself as well? So is there anything would you share about it?
Great question. So I think, if anything, that is more important to understand first yourself than others. I heard a good quote before. It says, "Doesn't matter how many great books you read, how many like classes you take, if you cannot read yourself, then all that irrelevant, right?" And the point is like, we humans, like, we have, as we know, we have five senses, right? Which are like, you know, we can go through if you like to. So, but there's also something that it's not officially anywhere, but it's either called gut feeling or it's called intuition
Right.
sometimes. So, and when you, like, know who you are, you know what your values, your beliefs are, then when you talk to people, you people receive you more genuine, of course, if you're projecting that. But however, if you try, like, let's say you are different personality and you trying to project who you are not really, then people sense that. So, like, you may say something, the speech might be good, everything might be good, but they're like, something is off. Like, I cannot exactly point what it is, but it feels something is off. So we have the gut feeling. So the whole point of studying first yourself, understanding your tendency, because we're all human though, like, it doesn't matter, like, I like said, I love studying. I also gain a lot of respect for monks. And I read a lot of books about, like, monks and, their lives. And these are masters. So these people, they master first themselves. Like, and they become, like, kind of like detached from, you know everything and everybody, but at the same time they're very connected because they're on completely different level, different, like,
Yes.
vibration. So these are masters. So I do admire
Yeah.
that, like, when you can be calm regardlessly, because, like, we live in society where people, like to spread a lot of fear, a lot of negativity. Unfortunately, that sells better than, you will hardly hear people, like, news. For example, if you watch news, I stopped watching news for
All right.
God knows how many years. I don't listen to radio because this is like attention grabbers. They are not trying to provide you any information. Another great quote that I learned from one of my teachers, he says, like, we are drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom. So information
Good.
is like there's no shortage. You open your phone, you
Yeah.
like turn on radio. There's a lot of information, and unfortunately, everybody in these days trying to pretend as if they know everything. They figure out everything. So there's a lot of information, but wisdom, it's like very rare and unique that you can actually take that information and apply to your life and make some changes. Another thing I really want to point out that people confuse information. Like it used to be the old adage, there's a knowledge, or information is power, but that's not true. So applied information is power. So
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter how much you know, if you do not take action, you don't do anything about it, then it doesn't matter how much you know, right? A lot of people know that, for
Yeah.
example, running is healthy, training or eating, like they know all that, but they don't do it. There's a saying like people know what they do, but they don't do what they know,
Yeah. That's
right?
applied to me too. As I think
So it's to
everyone
all
knows.
of us to a certain degree, but
So
it's
many
just,
things we know is the right way. We are even teaching some other our kids and so many things, but we are not following with so many bullets. Before we started, we had an interesting conversation about the path that people they have to go because this podcast we started like the idea came up that will give information very important to people that just came to Canada or they're in Canada for a long time but they are not finding their place, where to go, where to start, what to do. And we had very interesting conversation before starting podcast. It's very important to know where you are to know where to go. Can you share more about those ideas, why it's important to know where you are to find out the destination?
yeah, that's a great point, great question. So, I mean, look, the truth is like if you do not know where you want to go, then you just cannot go there simply. You have to first know where you want to go. That's where clarity comes in. So there are like, different people have different formulas. So some do in reverse, like, why, how, and where, and so forth. So, but regardless the order, I believe that you have to be very clear where you want to go. The more clear you are where you want to go, the higher the chances to get there. That's like
All right.
number one, the clarity. So, and then second, you have to know how to get there. And this is maybe in reverse order because the number one most important is why you want to go there, why you want to get there. Because why is more important, more powerful than how.
Oh,
So, and like, I believe this is one of the oldest quotes, but the first time I read, there's a great book by Viktor Frankl. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. So he was a doctor and he was in concentration camp. And in his book, he who has a strong why to live can endure or conquer almost anyhow. So it means the stronger is your reason to do whatever you want to do, the higher the chance that you will get there, you'll do that. You have to have a strong why.
agree.
And that's what, unfortunately, in most cases, people are missing, that they don't have the strong why. Or in the beginning, they're like focused, they're clear, but as they start going the journey and it gets harder and all the noises, people saying, like, yeah, I told you it's going to be this, going to be that. So it's kind of they get discouraged and either quit or leave. But if you persistent, like people who ever achieve greatness, they didn't got there by
Oh,
luck, right? It was not easy. They had to overcome a lot of, and that's the beauty of that. So because it's easy to quit.
you are saying I'm remembering back when I first hired a coach in my business,
Hmm.
and the first question he asked me was your why. Like, what do you mean? What's your why? Like that
Mm.
question for me, it was like, what kind of question is you are asking me? And he gave me some study happened that they ask 1,000 people how much money you want to make, and they say, let's say million, million, million. They ask why million,
Mm.
and from those many people, just couple of them they know why they want to have a million,
Right.
and that's the reason they told them, okay, there is a chance higher that you can get your million because you know why you need that million. But
Right.
if you don't have the why you need a million, the chances are becoming less and less that you can earn that million because you don't know why you need that million. So there is no big why. So it's a really good question to understand
And it's also
why.
easier to like, either deviate or just like quit after all. Like because you didn't believe the reason, the cause to begin with. And if you don't have it, because people who really are like almost like a laser focus, they know where they want to go and why they want to go, most importantly, then doesn't matter what happens because they are mentally set, and in some cases they're saying when it's like done within yourself, it's just matter of time you get there. But you have to be also like aligned, like because we're like two parts. We're like our physical body, but we're also our mind is like in some cases people kind of separate them, but in order for them like to be aligned, to be united, they're on the same page, then again like it's just like increases your chances like to get there.
It's really interesting. Sometimes like I'm trying to catch, and it's so many things. I believe that I have to go back and read again and again. What's the book or books would you suggest for people who is trying to find out their why? What would you suggest to read them?
Man, honestly, that's a great question. There are so many of them, but there's one great one by Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why.
Yeah.
So he talks about that. But I believe, you see, the truth is, there's another great quote, I believe, by Da Vinci. He said, realize that everything is connected to everything else. And the point is, like, you see, when like you read these books, lectures, podcasts, whatever. So every time, if you really like open-minded, and there's a good saying, mind works only, like it's like a parachute, works only if it's open, right?
Right.
So if you come like with an open mind and willingness to learn, and every time you learn, I don't know if you ever like tried like putting jig puzzle together. So when it's like the more pieces there are, like the every time you kind of flip the pieces, it start kind of making more sense. You're seeing the
Understand.
picture what it's gonna be. So every time you learn something, the book you read and everything. So that's almost every time you
Puzzles.
flip one like puzzle. More of this you turn. So I like to see us connecting the dots because there are people like let's say like I listen and learn from. I really love people who are like deep thinkers. They can take one word and literally write a book about that word
Yeah.
that has so much meaning, so deep in it. So that's like what I am obsessed about. So they people can come there like some fundamental laws, some fundamental truths that regardless in which you can be doctor, you can be military person, you can be anybody, but those fundamentals are true for everybody.
Nice.
So it's almost like science. Science, the beauty of science, regardless whether you try in Canada, in United States, in Africa, or anywhere else, the formula, if it's there, every time you use and mix these like chemicals, it's going to have same result, same reaction every time. It's the same as like recipe, right?
It's. Are you running any mastermind group that people in the same
I'm not.
thinking or the no? I think it's a
I'm
good
not, but
idea.
I
I'm
would
going to.
like what
I'll
again, what
ask
I
you
am
to do that.
trying
I'll
to
join, and
I
so you are
what
one
I
member.
will answer to that. Sorry, I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm trying actually to clarify, to create almost like a map where it will help people regardless where you're at, regardless what's your profession, to simplify it So you can look at the map and then understand, okay, so this is connected to this is where I am, or this is why I do this. So it's just like it's really like a, I mean, very hard thing to do, because you have to connect a lot of dots in order to do that. But again, as I said, so the number one thing I believe that a lot of people have maybe misunderstood is wherever we do, we come with a certain set of expectations. So, like, there is a great book, I think it's called The Untethered Soul. So it's more of a little bit on a spiritual side. But he's saying, so basically what's happening in life. So every moment, it is just unfolding. So whether you happen to be there to witness that or not, that is happening regardless where you are, who you are. So example he gives, he's saying, imagine you go to California, for example, and you walk on the edge of the cliff and you're looking over the beautiful ocean, and then you see the whales and the dolphins and the birds, and you know, everything is beautiful. So now you come back, you tell me that story. You're like, I went there, this is, so now I bought a ticket, I want to go see that because like it was
Yeah.
so beautiful, you sold me that idea. So I go there, and that day birds are not singing, whales are not there, dolphins are not there, and I'm upset.
Yeah.
And the only difference between, you know, your experience, my experience, it's just it didn't happen that my timing aligned with whatever was happening. Maybe the time was wrong or whatever it may be. Maybe that day dolphins didn't feel like to do what they're doing, right? So, but the only reason I'm upset, it's because I have these unmet expectations.
Oh,
So I went there with expectations. So it's true about people, whatever we do. We come to maybe podcast, and then I live, if I came here with expectations and one of them didn't match, so now I can be either, you know, unhappy, whatever, or it can be the other way around. It surpasses my expectation. I'm like, oh my God, it's like great, and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So,
so but expectation is always because there is another quote when or is they were saying that don't build a big expectation, then you will not be upset.
yeah,
So now which one is the right version for you? Like to have that kind of high expectation, and because if you are building that expectation, there is a bigger chance that is not going to be happen if it's in your
sure.
mind.
Okay, so it is a great question, and I'm going to say something hopefully relevant to that. So we live in two worlds. So one is called external world that we have zero control over, economy, traffic, weather, other people, everything else. And then we have the inner world where it's our words, attitude, behavior, actions, you name it.
Yeah.
So we only can and control only that. So if you have high expectation, have high expectations from yourself. What can you do rather what can you get? So there are also two types of people. They're like givers and takers, right? So if you all the time taking, not giving, obviously that's not a good
Right.
place to be. But if you switch and change, like you become a giver. So me, for example, coming here, rather thinking where I can get out of this conversation or this podcast, if I come with the mindset, what I can give, what can I bring, hopefully that little bit of word or encouragement people can take and then do something with it. So then now I'm not focused on myself. I'm focused on you
Bringing to
and
yeah.
your audience. What can I give? What can I bring? And if people thought like that, we become more givers rather than takers, we will live much better society, I believe. You know.
Thank you very much for your time and coming. It's like I know we can maybe do another episode, and this is a conversation that we can. I have to go back to learn more about this, that I will be more prepared for a good questions as well. But this is really something that you shared, and everyone can take a lot advantages from this conversation. like a lot of times people saying before coming to Canada I have different kind of expectation, different things happen, it's a disappointment. Some of them they don't have their map like you mentioned. So I believe from this conversation, like you are saying, to bring a value, there is a lot of value here, and there is a value that people they have to take a time to learn and understand, and then what's important to apply.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you everyone for watching and sharing, and please subscribe and like again this episode. And I believe this kind of episode will help people who is really struggling or they want to understand their path. It will help them to find their real path. Thank you and have a wonderful day.